Okay, good morning. Mazel tov. Okay, good morning, my friends. Today's SHIUR is dedicated to Lilu Nishmat, raised by Joseph Meir, Mordechai ben Moshe, Limud ben Avram, Daniel ben David. First of all, a grace yashikawach to this group, those who are present, those who are not present, for the gift in honor of our granddaughter. It will be used for, I don't know, but whatever it is, it will be used well, Emir Hashem. So, grace yashikawach, we should just share many more smachot together with all of OUisrael. Great. Mazel tov. To continued smachot. Great, that's fine. Thank you. Phones should be turned to silent. And what else am I missing? That's about it. Okay, so let's start. Again, the chachma of planning a trip on a Tuesday morning, I don't get where the right and the left meet. No one does, yeah. Okay. We have a lot of interesting things we're going to do today, which is always interesting. I don't know where we're going to land, but we always go on a journey, so let's journey together. Parshat Bechukotai is, we know, the brachos and the klalos 2 weeks before Shavuos, and as we know in source number 4, how do we understand reward and punishment? In general, the Rambam tells us Hashem promises in Torah, if we fill the Torah with joy, He'll remove all the obstacles that prevent us from observing Torah, disease, famine, war, and the like. He will bestow upon us all the benefit will help us, such as peace, prosperity, etc. So this is how we have to look at these blessings as the heavenly assistance given to help us serve Hashem, all right? And the way the Ramban notes in source number 7 is that this really ultimately is a future vision. This is a vision of before the sin. Okay, this is a vision of before Adam Harishon. Let's take a look at one idea for today. And I'll tell you why I'm so excited, but I guess I get excited every week because I do get excited every week, but I'll tell you why I get excited. We're going to take a look at one Rashi. And this Rashi, at first glance, and second and third, is very nice, but it doesn't really speak to me. You know, like, whoa, what's the big deal? And oh, my friends, is this Rashi teaching us the depths of life? Ay, Gewalt. And that is what we have to understand, is that this is just to open our eyes to what? Every Rashi is this way. Okay, so you ready to learn? It's good stuff today. I mean, it's good stuff every day. Soul Torah. Here's the pasuk. If you will follow my decrees, observe my commandments, and perform them, I'm in source number 1. Then I will provide your rains in their time, and the land will give its produce, and the tree of the field will give its fruit. Your threshing will last until the vintage will last until the sowing, etc. And you'll eat bread, satiety, and you'll dwell securely in your land, and will live happily ever after. I added that part. That's not the Chumash. Now, we have spoken in the past. What's wrong? It does say that, yeah. Now, we have done in the past, provide your rains in their time. We did a whole Shira on that a few years ago. I want to do a different part of the pasuk. And that is, source number 2. Here we go. Here's Rashi, Chazal. Ve'etz hasadeh, right? The rain will be in the right time, and the land will give its produce, and the tree of the field will give its fruit. Ve'etz hasadeh, and the tree of the field. What's the tree of the field? Hein ilanei srak. These trees which do not bear fruit. Vatidin laso pero, they are destined to produce fruit. Got it? That's the Rashi. So you look at this Rashi and say, okay, the non-fruit bearing trees will bear fruit. Big deal. Where does Rashi get this from? So there are a number of ways to look at this. In the article on the bottom, hasadeh of the field appears superfluous. It teaches that even the trees of the fields as opposed to fruit-bearing trees of the orchard. Rav Druk offers a number of interpretations. One of them on the bottom of 5 is, V'natna ha'aretz yevula. If the land will give forth its produce, included in that should be the what? Trees of the field. So what's the chiddush here? That even the non-fruit-bearing trees will bear fruit. Good. Here's my one question on Rashi. And it's this question that's going to bring us into the depth of our learning. Here's the question. It's the question of the Moshav Zekanim as well as others. Source 6, Rav Druk brings. She'ela gdola ha'iksha Moshav Zekanim. I'm in source 6. Halo im atzei asadeh mudabarim bepasuk hazeh lo hemei lenei shrak. The cedar tree, the trees that don't bear fruit. If that's the case, im kain mahu shenemar bahem ve'etz hasadeh yitain piryo mashma shua pri haragil shelo ve'ilu lahem ein peirot klal. רק היה צריך לומר שתתקדש מציאות חדשה, וראוי היה לכתוב ועץ השדה ייתן פרי. Let me explain the question. The pasuk says, ועץ השדה and the trees of the field ייתן piryo. Piryo means its fruit. Its fruit indicates that these trees are what? Fruit-bearing trees. But they're not fruit-bearing trees. Right, Rashi, you're telling me they're not fruit-bearing trees that will bear fruit. But the Chumash tells me that what? These trees have fruit. So how do you understand this? That's the question. It should say, these trees, ve'etz hasadeh yitain pri. Pri means fruit. Piryo means its fruit. How do we understand that? If it's a non-fruit-bearing tree, it doesn't have fruit. Yeah. Oh. So now, my friends, we're going to try to answer this question. We're going to look at it on 2 levels, and each level obviously will have more levels. Otherwise, why would we be here? We have to, yes?
But every tree has its own purpose, so a tree needs the wood.
Yeah, chinami. But is that the fruit of the tree?
Because that a fruit means something
that you can use.
That comes out of it.
Interesting.
The
Interesting.
wood itself, we need wood.
Yeah, so does every tree that's I'm not into trees, I'll tell you that. Yeah, chinami, but is that the fruit of the tree? Okay, if you want to leave now, you can. I want to learn this as fruit being that which I understood in kindergarten as fruit, even though I hear you loud and clear. I hear you. I don't agree with you necessarily, but I hear you. I'm kidding with you. I'm kidding with you. Okay.
Can't build a house with an apple.
That's true. That is true. But do I call it the fruit of the tree? That language is what's niggling at me. And I'm hearing you. Are we playing with semantics here? Are we playing with ideas? I don't know. It's too early in the morning. I had too much traffic getting up, to Pamach that I can't deal with it right now. But I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I don't know what I would call it. I have to think about it. Is that fair? That's fair. That's honest. That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, this is what this is talking about. Oh. I like that idea. I like it. Yeah. I like it. I like pre-betted. Very good. I like that. You guys are doing great. Maybe we should stop here. We've had such beautiful ideas, and I'll just call it. You might want an answer. I came too far today. Pre-betted. I like that idea. that everyone will have children. Yeah, I like it.
Now it's coming, now
It's coming to fruition with IVF and all this. Fruition. Okay, we're on a roll here today, my friends. She's already stumped me once, so let's move on here. Source 8. The classic answer, and obviously we're going to take it further, is the answer of that Rav Druk brings. Eitz ose pri afilu netzrak asu pero mevuar shebetchila hayu koli lanot mutzim pero. Originally in Gan Eden, this is based on the Medrash, all trees bore fruit in my kindergarten understanding of that which you consume. Im kein gamlo tam shem hayom milanesrak beteva briatan hayu lahem perot mishalahem. Perio is literal. Every tree has a potential fruit. The fact that we don't see that is only because of the sin of Chet Eitz Hadat. Shekasher nikala adama pasku mehem perosehem. When the ground was punished after the result of the sin of Adam, some trees lost their fruit. Omnam in the squiggly lasi lavo yachzru lanotzrak elu latet pero kabarishana. However, when the Mashiach comes, what's going to happen? All trees will be fruit-bearing trees. All trees will be fruit-bearing trees. Shiashuvu le'etzem tiv'am harishon. They're all going to return to their original teva. And this is indeed Rav Dov Yafeh taking that Ramban, which we alluded to, and he says that's the whole focus of all these psukim in 9 and 10, that the V'natana Aretz Yevula, the very same day that they'll be planted, they will grow. V'etza sadeh yitain piryo, all trees will bear fruit. V'achaltem lechem lasova, the bread itself will be filling, and you won't need anything to add to it. The hummus and trina industry will be nixed, out of business. It will taste vishvati chayara meina aretz. This is this week's Torah tidbits. Mirtz Hashem, there will be no wild animals. Shalom OUIsrael. Good. Let's try to understand this a little bit deeper. This idea of the fruit-bearing trees, the way that Ribono Shalom created the world. This is that's Torah, Rabbi Yerucham 11a. And he says, based on the Tfunot of the Ramchal, that Adam HaRishon could have finished Lahashlim HaBriyah B'Sha Achas. He could have finished the whole world in 1 hour. Not literally 1 hour, in 1 minute. Which means that he could have brought the world to perfection that now we have to struggle with for thousands of years. Work with me, it's a little bit deep, but that never hurt anybody, and they're squiggly. Hamitbonein babriya v'hanagata halo yipaleh be'emet al kol inyan soda shia. One of the things that we notice about creation that's very perplexing is why do things take so long? So, for example, you put a apple seed in the ground. Why do you have to wait a full year, or sometimes even what? Yeah, a few years before the fruit produces. Hello, you put the apple seed in the ground, and what should happen? An apple. Why does a woman wait 9 months to have a baby? Oh my gosh, what a schlep, right? Let the baby be, and in the future that will what? Happen. She'll give birth in 1 day, right? What's this business of all of this waiting? And he says in the Iyar, V'zehu yesod ha'inyan vadai, ki abriya ba'atzmuta omnam ein ba kol mitziot shel shia. Intrinsically in the creation, there's no concept of waiting. Vashiyot vayikuvim asher anu nifgashim bahem al kol shal v'shal, Elahem toldot hachet. All of this waiting and slowness, give me a better word, and process, is a result of the sin. That is not the way the world was originally envisioned. things would move faster. And that's what we have to understand at the end of 11b, that the Se'or Shebe'isa is the Yetzer Hara. The Se'or Shebe'isa is like that yeast. Yeast, things rise, takes time. Your challah dough doesn't rise. That's the Yetzer Hara. And the Yetzer Hara's job is exactly this. Don't do it right now. You'll get to it. When you have time, you will do it. The whole struggle, what was going out of Egypt was bechipazon, was quickly. The whole idea of geula, redemption, is about movement. What blocks movement in this world? It's us and sin and the lethargy that we create. And he even goes, you want to say something? Okay, he even goes so far, thank you, Brenda, in source 12 to tell us, in the arrow, Gilta lanu Torah b'zeh she'yishnam b'briyah shtei hanogot. There are two modus operandi that Hashem interacts with this world. Yeshna nagasho mehirus, there's one moving quickly. Yes, hanhaga kimitkonan shel henyonim. V'yeshna nagasho kvedur v'ikuvim. And both of them are hinted at in our Parsha. Im Bechukotai telechu, if you follow in my ways, azai b'hanagalza ofen shomahirus will shomikurim v'kvedos. Then things will move fast. And if you don't follow my ways, i.e. a world of sin, then things take what? Then things take time. And he goes so far to say, is that if we find in our lives that everything is moving slowly, ask ourselves, are we as things in life, right? We want things to happen and they're not happening as fast as we would want them to. Instead of turning our attention to God, why are things taking so long? Turn the attention to ourselves. Are we ourselves moving slowly with blockages that's blocking the movement of what's going on above?
So if we look at ourselves, babies have come out faster?
Not necessarily babies, because that's part of the teva of this world, ultimately in. But at a certain point, yes, the baby may come out faster, literally. You know what I'm saying? When it's supposed to come. And other things in life. We're looking for this job, we're looking for, and it seems to just be a drawn-out process. There is a way, it seems to be, that you can make that process faster. Fascinating, isn't it?
Moshe Rabbeinu was a 7-month baby.
Yeah, he was.
So
He was.
She was of a more perfected state, that it happened faster.
Good, I like it. Brenda?
I don't know, maybe my mind ain't gone into it.
Also, we have 49 steps from.
It could be a, lesson
Yeah,
also.
yeah, no, I think, you know what, Zrizus is not Pachas Kamayim.
Right.
So it has to be a balance. I agree with you, and everything has to be. At the same time,
You have to take the step.
there's movement, and we have to move. And a lot of times in our lives, we schlep. And even simple things, like we all have that list to do. I really should call, I really should, and those I really should, guess what happens? They don't happen. This is what the Datraga says is the Midah Keneged Midah. He says in 14, V'im Kain, Harei b'kocham shalem tzrak lo nadad lo tzi peiros rak shlemaisa biglal ached einam motzi matav shirut shalem min hakoach al hapoel. They want to give it forth, but they're blocked. When Bnei Israel go above and beyond and develop their koach fully, in Bechukotai telechu shitu amelim b'Torah. So when we push ourselves above and beyond, so that is going to have the Midah Keneged Midah effect, where these fruits will be able to what? Kivyachol, push themselves beyond. Obviously, as the Ben Melech points out in 15, Ulam nireh sheyesh bazeh harbei madregot, u'kechol shemosifim b'shmirat hamitzvot v'amal haTorah, otam brachot atzman ba'ot b'ribuv v'tosefes maila. It's not one or the other. It's a continuum. And we have to understand that in our lives. Life is not black and white. It's full of color. And obviously, Shibasha'ah and the hour Shibakamim Yisrael to mitzvahs karoi v'otzim ritzono shel hamakom. When we do the will of God, zochim l'shefa, bracha, v'tova, we have all of these wonderful things that happen. And my friends, this is the bottom line. Like, before we get into anything more fancy, which I'm about to do now, is we have to realize there's a cause and effect in our actions. And that's idea number one. We shouldn't think, there's no relationship between what I do and what happens in my life. Wrong. We create our own reality based on our actions. And sometimes we think that there's like no connection. The first idea in the Parsha is, Im Bechukotai telechu, if you walk in my ways, then. And the if and the then are dependent on how much you put in is how much you'll get out. And sometimes we think, so I do a mitzvah, so I don't do a mitzvah. Is it any big deal? The answer is the more you invest, the more will come out. That is the imagery of the more we do, the more fruit will be born by those trees, whether it's the literal fruit or the concept of being able to produce.
I'm just confused about the movement fast. I think it's about.
Not necessarily, but we have to do our part. We have to do our part. What happens in this world is beyond us, and there's so many factors that are beyond us. At the same time, the more you invest in positivity, you bring down positivity. And again, there's so many things outside of our realm. Again, the idea of when to move fast, when not to move fast, all I'm going to say, and then I'm going to close it, and you can look into it further yourself, because you have very capable people in your family, men and women, is we have to grab opportunities that are given to us. And when the opportunities come, we have to be able to take those opportunities. The way Rav Wolbe says it is, when he describes a mitzvah, he says, when a mitzvah comes your way, don't procrastinate. Al tachmitzena. And the imagery that he gives, and then beyond this, you're going to have to go because I have a lot to do today. The imagery that he gives is, if you have a train at 11:04, so you have to be on the platform by 11 to catch the 11:04 train, or 11:03 latest. If you get there at 11:05, you have missed the 11:04 train, period. You may get the 12:04 train, but you've missed the 11:04 train. The 11:04 train is taking a mitzvah at the right time. You bring Shechina at that time. You will have the mitzvah later, but you miss that hashras, Shechina at that moment. So grabbing opportunities is really, that Ribbono Shalom gives you, is really grabbing, it's really being attuned to the time. Being attuned to a time. I'm just going to add one more nakuda, because I don't want to get a field that I already have, even though we're dealing with fields here. This is all fields. And that is, there's a beautiful idea of Masisiyahu Salomon Zatzal, who brings the Matnat Chaim on a Maimer called Vayavor Mordechai. That why did Mordechai have a 3-day fast during Pesach? The decree wasn't for another 11 months. Finish Pesach, have a beautiful Seder, and then what? Then fast. You hear the question? He says, if the Ribbono Shalom wanted me to fast after Pesach, the decree would have happened after Pesach. If the decree happened now, it means Ribbono Shalom wants me to act right now. And a lot of it is being attuned to what's around us. Okay, my friends, you ready to put your seatbelts on? Here we go. I want to take this idea of that we're talking about the trees will bring forth fruit. The trees of Gan Eden will bring forth its fruit. I want to look at two ideas connected with this before we get to the second level. I am going to do 17 through 22 outside, with maybe a line or two inside. Ready? Rav Rivlin. Rav Rivlin, Sefer Parshios, Rav Rivlin, Yeshiva Keren B'Yavne. He quotes here the following idea. And again, I'm going to highlight a few inside. Most of it is outside. You have the sheets. He says the original fruit tree the pasuk tells us, "Vatache haaretz eitz pri ose pri lamino." The original tree should have had three components. One, the bark of the tree should have tasted like the fruit of the tree. Two, the fruit of the tree should have given forth that very same day. And three, all trees should bear fruit. That was the original plan of the Ribono Shel Olam. I repeat, that the tree and the bark would taste the same. Two, that the trees would give forth fruit every day. Three, that there would be no such thing as a non-fruit bearing tree. He then quotes an idea, which is a fascinating idea, of Rav Kook Zatzal. Rav Kook just looks at these three things in a symbolic way. And listen closely, it is very powerful. Rav Kook explains, I want to do this inside. It's I don't know what source. It has a one with a look like a smajijig. I can't figure out what source it is. It's under an arrow. Yeah. Shishtam ha'etz ketam ha'pri b'kesher l'chedem mefurasam yoter shel haaretz shelo siyata l'tzivui shetam ha'etz v'tam ha'pri yushavim katav harav Kook. Mitchilat habriya ra'ui haya hatam ha'etz liyot gam ketam ha'pri. Originally, the fruit and the bark and all the parts of the tree should have tasted the same, which means Kol ha'emsaim hamachzikim eze megama ruchani gvoha klalit ru'uyim hayu liyot muchashim b'chush nishmato ba'oto hagova v'hanoam she'etzam megama murgeshet bo. And let's explain this. The fruit of the tree is the goal. The bark, the leaves, the branches are the medium to reach that goal. So far, so good. I need a trunk, I need the branches, I need the leaves, and that will produce the apple. Yeah? All of those were originally supposed to taste like an apple. What happened? What does this mean symbolically? The apple represents the goal. Spiritually, the apple represents my spiritual connection to Hashem. That level of spiritual connection that I feel in lighting Shabbos candles and shaking a lulav and esrog, that was supposed to be felt in the process as well. Which means, the moment I get into my car to buy that lulav and esrog, walking through the street, choosing lulav and esrog, I will be on that same high and that same excitement as when I actually take the lulav and esrog. We live in a world where we feel the spiritual connection only in the fruit of the tree and not in the process to get to that fruit of the tree. That, says Rav Kook, was a result of the sin, that there's a disconnect between process and result. There's a disconnect in my avodas Hashem where I don't feel on a high going through the process that leads me ultimately to do the what? The mitzvah itself. Now, he says, again in the second paragraph in that source, in the middle, Aval ched haaretz, double underline, garam lenituk ben hakodesh v'hachol. There's a disconnect between the holy and the profane. B'pri b'totzar. Oh, b'kedusha morgash hanom v'adar. The end result, the mitzvah, I feel it. Aval b'dvarim hachumriyim, the physical part, shedarkam shrichad kedusha litgalo. That's a process in order to reach that mitzvah. Lo morgash oto gova shel kedusha. I don't feel that level of holiness. Shekena aretz bechata hestira ekilui malchut Hashem ba'olam. There is, and that's the result of the sin, a blockage of this level of connection. Now I understand, my friends, the bottom paragraph in this right-hand column. What does it mean that the fruit trees will not bear fruit? It means that I live in a world that I can look at things and not see. Very good, godliness. Very good. I can look at this world and there is no fruit. I can look at this world, I can look at people and think, boy, why were they created? Or girl, why were they created? Right? I look at the world and I say, what's this doing here? A non-fruit-bearing tree is such a level of concealment that one actually believes there are things in this world that aren't godly. Godly. Wow. And then finally, the fruit tree not bearing fruit that same day, left-hand column in 19, is clearly there's a disconnect between action and consequence. When something bears fruit that day means that someone does something and you see the result. We live in a world where there's that disconnect, where Moshe Rabbeinu asked that famous question of Tzadik Virelo and Rasha V'Tovlo. I see that people are being, successful in what they're doing. We live in a world where everything is what? Is upside down. What will happen? What's the bracha in Parshat Bechukotai? It's not just that the trees will bear fruit. It's not just that they'll bear fruit on the same day. It's not just that the bark will taste like the fruit. That is true. That is 100% true. At the same time, it's much deeper. It's a metaphor for our relationship with Hashem, that we will be able to feel a level of connection in all areas of preparation for a mitzvah on that same level of spirituality. We will realize that everything has a godly purpose, and we will see clearly that there is a connection between action and result. Wow. Very powerful idea. Very powerful idea. I want to add one more nakuda on this first level, and then we'll get to the second level. And again, I'm going to do this outside as well. I did this outside also when I taped it for online. And this is 23 through 27. And then we'll go back inside. This is Rav Schlesinger, up the block, Zot HaTorah. And he says the following. We did this idea many years ago. I'm just going to remind us and then tie it in. I'm assuming everything I've taught the last 10 years you all remember. So that's my assumption that I'm going in. Otherwise, I could just... You're not me. Well, here we go. I don't remember everything I taught. I'm assuming you guys do. Here it goes. Says Rav Schlesinger something very fascinating. It's based on the Chasam Sofer. He says, where does rain come from? So we know there is called a cycle of, what is it called, the water cycle? Yeah, I don't know. So you have water down in the ocean. What is it called? Okay, water in the ocean, and then it goes up to what? The clouds, and then it comes back down to, you learned this in 3rd grade, 4th grade, back down to the water, and it makes a cycle. Says the Chasam Sofer, human beings add to this cycle with the air we breathe, right? Oxygen, carbon dioxide, all that fun stuff. And this is, again, we're talking about not just scientifically, we're talking about philosophically. The words that we speak that come out of our mouth create a reality in the spiritual world that will go into the air, that will affect the water, that will affect the food that we eat. Let's put this into English. We know there have been studies done where you take 2 cups of water and one you say like curse words and negative words about it. You've seen these studies? And one you say positive words. There are different molecular responses. I'm not making this up. You've seen this? She's seen this. To speak to her in the back. 2 people in the back. You have a different molecular response when you speak positive words. There's something that we create in the world around us. Listen to what the Chasam Sofer says. When a person speaks Lashon Hara, and negative speech, those words then go into the air, which go into the water, which go into the heavens, and that's why the punishment is Vatsarat Hashamayim v'lo yiyeh matar, because rain that comes down from such a speech will then go into the food, and the food will have that negativity based on what we've put into the world. Does that sound over the top? Are you following me? So what does Hashem do out of a kindness? Vatsarat hashamayim v'lo yiyeh matar. It's talking about water, yashikoach. And Hashem, thank you, Hashem will stop the water in order for what? To stop the negative cycle so that we don't, because if I take in the food from this negativity, what just then happens? I become what? More negative. Very good. I become more negative, and it goes and it goes. And in fact, the Gemara says that because of Diburei Lashon Hara, rain 25, Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, Ein Hagshamim Netzarim Ela Bishvil Masapri Lashon Hara. Rain stops because of people who speak Lashon Hara. Based on what we're saying, it makes a lot of sense. Hashem stopping the rain is really a what? It's a chesed. It's a gift for us. Now, what is the counter to the speaking Lashon Hara? It's obviously to speak words of Torah. Words of Torah then become a what? An antidote to those negative words. Now, here's the question that Rosh Schlesinger brings, and then we'll move into much easier land in 27. What happens if part of the people are speaking Lashon Hara and part of the people are speaking Torah? Then what happens? That's what he said. What'd you say? Hopefully. Halavai Vaiter, Halavai, Halavai. He says you have two different types of trees. You have the fruit-bearing trees for those who are speaking Torah, and you have the non-fruit-bearing trees for those who speak Lashon Hara, so we won't be affected by it. The goal of Im Bechukotai Telechu is that by learning Torah, and everyone involved in Torah, so then all trees can be what? Fruit-bearing trees. Okay, I'm bringing this, even though it's a little bit out of the box, just to see the complexity of trees aren't the way we think they are. There's a lot, what? More that meets the eye. Okay, let's summarize what we've seen on level 1, and now we're going to begin level 2. So here goes. We saw the idea that the Eitz HaSadeh Yitain Piryo. Piryo, its fruit. What's its fruit? Its fruit is the original fruit. What's the original fruit? The fruit of Gan Eden. That fruit of Gan Eden will come back. It has been stopped because of the Chet Eitz Hadat. Know that the whole idea of the Chet Eitz Hadat has brought this idea of slowness, of Shehiyah into this world. We have to counter that by grabbing opportunities. Understand that this bearing fruit is not just literal, it's also philosophical. Not bearing fruit means that we live in a world where godliness is concealed. That in the future, all trees, all life will be one cycle of spirituality, and we'll be able to see the hand of Hashem in everything. Also understand that the idea of non-fruit-bearing trees is a chesed of Hashem, so that those who speak Lashon Hara, they can be watered by what? Those trees, so that we can be watered by the trees who learn Torah, so that it will have a positive influence on us. When everyone is going to be learning Torah, then everything we eat is going to what? Impact us for the positive. So far, that was a summary. If that did not at all sound familiar, we're in trouble. Now, my friends, let's take a look at a second level, and this is where I really want to go. We have 15 minutes. Let's use our time well. Source 28. B'karei Shmo. Kodem limud Torah Adam, hino Iyar pere Adam yulad ve'no ela Adam pashut vilan sarak. ועל-ידי לימוד התורה משתנה האדם מתגדל לציץ ולפרוח להיות מציאו של עושה פרי. He says, we know a person is compared to what? Tree of the field. That we're not just talking about fruit trees, we're talking about us. We're talking about us on two levels. On level number one, so 2A, we're talking about people in the future who will be able to learn Torah, who've never been able to learn Torah before. That, Shari Tuvia, Rav Sternbach, Zatzal? Rav Sternbach, oh my gosh, I did not, sorry, it's not Rav Sternbach. I goofed, whoa, major. This is Rav Weiss, Rav Tuvia Weiss. Well, that was a major goof up, Shira. Okay, not your first and not your last. I know that. Okay. V'nira b'signal zeh haremes gam b'siyum hakatuv. Ve'etz hasadeh yitain piryo. Shaydei amal b'torah gam elu hanashim shehem b'vchinat ilanei srak. Hainu shemitzad kosher sichlam umiyut kishronam einam mesugalim latzmiach peirot b'torah. There are some people whose intellectual acuity hasn't allowed them to what? To learn Torah. Hinei mikoach ha'amal vayegia. But they work hard. They'll be able to see the fruit of their labor. Kefi shanisayon me'id, sha'aliyah v'atzlacha b'Torah eina tluya b'tiv ha'kisharon, ela b'midat ha'amal vayegia. Says Rav Tuvia Weiss Zatzal, the key in being a Talmid Chacham is not ability, but perseverance. That's the Chumash is telling us right here. Im bechukotai telechu, if you walk in my ways. Rashi says to you, amelim b'Torah, you work hard in Torah. And here he says something so fundamental. He says, this is, in 30 in the asterisk, a Yesod Gadol for students. They should never give up hope if they were not born with brilliance. And I think more importantly in 31, ubiyoter tzarich lezarez v'lashmiya dvarim elu lemarbitze haTorah umenalei mosdot hachinuch. This has to be given over to, you're laughing, teachers and principals. Shelo yizalzalu b'shum talmid. Don't make light of any student. Af hachalash b'kishronotav, even someone very weak. Next paragraph. V'zeh ra'ah chola b'yameinu eila. This is a major problem in our day and age. Shenaseh shita etza rabim imanalei ha'yeshivot. There's like a mindset in many of the principals. L'kabel rak talmidim mitzuyonim. They only take the what? Best and the brightest. Ube'emet lo zo haderech. This is not the path of Judaism. Wow. Could you imagine this? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Rav Tuvia Weiss. And he says, because Torah is open for everybody. And it's dependent on your desire. Your she'ifa to learn, your amelos, and we know throughout history, a lot of the Gedolim were not the brightest necessarily. What did they have going for them? Perseverance and tefillah. And tefillah. And to write off a student just because they're what? A little bit weaker is... You know, we told this story. I don't remember it. I was just thinking of it driving here today. I don't remember the story. But I'll tell you what part of it I remember. But I don't remember it. There was a boy who had real learning challenges. Once I tell it, you'll say, oh, I remember the story. And he wasn't able to learn. And he really tried and really tried and he really struggled. So... at a certain point, he's entering Yeshiva Gdola. He couldn't even read a Daf Gemara. He couldn't read 2 or 3 lines. The parents, however, wanted him in a what? In that environment. So they asked a certain yeshiva, could you do us a favor? Could he be the shamash? Which means he'll clean up. Remember the story? He'll clean up the coffee cups and he'll put away the sfarim. So at least he'll be hanging around the yeshiva and yeshiva boys, even though he can't what? He can't learn. So that's what he did. And he, one day as he's cleaning up, he sees an ad for, you get a free MP3 player if, I don't know, whatever, and with the MP3 player, I don't know what he had to do to get the free MP3 player, but he got a free MP3 player. I think if you commit to listen to X amount of hours of this rabbi, then you get a free MP3 player. One of those type of deals. And he listened to this rabbi, and he realized that he really enjoyed listening. And as he is cleaning up, he learned through all of Shas. But everyone thought that he was just a what? A shamish. He wasn't able to read, but he was able to what? Listen and process listening, to the point that there was, as he's cleaning up, this is a true story. As he's cleaning up, in the where the Rabbeim were talking, two of the Rabbeim had a question about something, and without thinking, he says, "It's a Tosfos in." And they looked at him like, hello? He said, "Just look it up, you'll see." And the Rosh Yeshiva was like, "How did you know this?" And then he told him how it came out that he had learned all of Shas, Rashi, and Tosfos while through all these years of cleaning up, he married the Rosh Yeshiva's daughter. Yeah, you don't like the story?
I think that those parents deserve an award as best parents of the year to come up with that idea.
Yeah, it was a good idea of the parents, yeah. Right, so this is it. There are people who have what? Learning issues. That doesn't mean that what? They're not capable, and we destroy. Don't get me started on this because I don't get off of this. We destroy people because we label them in a box. Either they fit the criteria or they don't, and we know that there are people who have taken their lives, lo aleinu, because of this. Okay, I got way off. Second level. I know, I couldn't resist. 33. And that is not only about learning Torah, here it is. Hainu dekai al adam kidichtiv ki adam eitz hasadeh shelo yu od shum ilanei srak v'akol yiyeh chozer l'tachlis hashleimos. Hainu, here's the key. Shekol nefesh misrael yachzor l'tachlis hashleimos v'yitukan hakol v'lo yeh nidcheh chatzom shum nefesh misrael. V'asof yeh shekol nefesh misrael yachzor l'shorasho. Everyone will return back to their full potential. Period. We all have that potential in us that we don't actualize to the fullest. In the future, all of us will be back to who we are capable of being. The Mamari of Dov Schwartzman, 34, Be'or Inyan, Shalatina Peirop in Retinate Perusha she'ein ba'olam briyashi livlatala. There's nothing for no purpose. And this is b'maisa adam, ein adam shu levatala shelo yachol lateit pri. Kein shum bria levatala. L'chol achad yesh et piryo hamiyuchad lo she'ein ba'acherim. We all, each of us, every one of us have something individual, unique that is not found in other people. And that is what's going to come out. And that, my friends, leads us to a beautiful Shavuos idea. We're getting already started into our Shavuos mindset. Next week's SHIUR, with really the help of Ribono Shel Olam, I need a lot of it every week, this week particular, will be a Shavuos SHIUR. And that is getting us ready for Shavuos. Rav Freifeld Zatzal. There's a medrash that says in 35 that at Mamad Har Sinai, everyone was healed. Those who were mute could speak, the deaf could hear, the blind could see. What is this all about? So he describes that when Adam HaRishon was created in 36, he was so lofty and so elevated that the Malachei Hashares, the angels, wanted to sing Shira in front of him, thinking that he was godly. That is what the Ribono Shalom envisioned when he created man. He calls it the Tzuras Ha'adam, the vision of who this person is. Once Adam ate of the tree, what happened? Yep, it was lost. 37. But that was not the original intention. The Tzuras Ha'adam, the human form the Almighty intended when he created the world, was not the present human form. It was something much higher, more exalted. It was a human being in its ideal and perfected form. 38, after the Chet, after Adam's sin, same page, don't go anywhere. He lost his pristine Tzuras Ha'adam, but the intended Almighty did not want to exist, did not cease to exist, nor did it change. The Almighty still wanted and intended for the human beings that inhabited the world to recapture that original Tzuras Ha'adam. And that's why you have the Avos HaKadoshim, the Shvatim, Mamed Har Sinai, and ultimately Mashiach. Now we flip the page. This is how it has to be. It was the Almighty's will to create a human being, that Tzuras Ha'adam in its ideal form, a being created in the image of the Lord, a being with a commanding stature and dazzling appearance to whom the entire world would be subordinated, a being who would be the keeper of the created world. Now we understand what it means that everyone was healed at Mamed Har Sinai. It's not just that they were physically healed. What the Medrash is telling us is something deeper. At Har Sinai, we returned to Adam before the sin. We reclaimed our Tzuras Ha'adam. We were that image. That's how he explains the Rashi. Vayichan Sham Yisrael neged Ahar, and Klal Yisrael encamped by the mountain. Rashi says, Ki ish echad belev echad, like one person, right? Unity. Different way of understanding Rashi. Ki ish echad, like the original ish echad, the original man, like Adam. When they came to Har Sinai, Kervanu, if they Har Sinai, we got back to that Tzuras Ha'adam. The arrow in 40. The commentators say that the Taryag mitzvos, the 613 mitzvos, can be divided to 48, 365. The whole point of Matan Torah, which correspond to the limbs and the blood vessels in us, because the whole point of Matan Torah is to bring us back and elevate us to the point of pristine perfection as a human being. The pure Tzuras Ha'adam without any distortions. What does it mean that there are 248 connected the parts of the body, or 365? It means that the point of Torah mitzvos is to get us back to what? The perfected self. What fools these mortals be, a poet once said, 41. We think that what we see, that this is it. The human being as we know him is a Tzuras Ha'adam, a little more tzaddik, a little less, a little more deal, a little less. No! This is not man. This is not what man was meant to be. These are ants. We live in a society of ants. Not even ants. Ants at least can live in peace with each other. Listen to the words of the Medrash. There it is, black on white. The Torah in its totality, 42, elevated to the level of Malachi Ashares. Before we get into differentiation of the Torah into its element, matzah, sukkah, tefillah, mezuzah, etc., kashrus, and their individual meaning and purpose, the Torah in its totality was the groundwork for the reconstruction of the Tzuras Ha'adam that was lost at the time of creation. And that, my friends, is what Mashiach is about. What is Mashiach? What do you think? On the right-hand side, Mashiach is about free ice cream. That's not so bad. Peace, prosperity, and endless all-expense paid vacation. Mashiach is a culmination of the process of history. In the time of Mashiach, the shaft of divine light will once again penetrate into the earth, and we will become the people that Hashem envisioned us to become. That's the bracha in this week's Parsha. Of course the non-fruit-bearing trees will bear fruit. There's no doubt about it. But it's much deeper than that. Each and every one of us will bear fruit. We have to realize when we look at ourselves that we have intrinsic fruit that we need to bring into this world. And we are doing a very poor job of developing ourselves to its fullest. This is the bracha, that in the future, all of us will blossom to the fullness of our potential. That's the bracha. I'll just add a station identification announcement. Next week in Mirza Hashem, in honor of Shavuos, we are having an unprecedented sale here. And that is, I'm trying to clear off inventory. Buy a Sefer Bamidbar Torah tapestry, get a Sefer Devarim for free. So it's a 2-for-1 sale. We've never had that. So if you have anyone you want to gift gifts too. You know, at the end of the year, or middle of the year, you just want to say thank you. You're going to someone for Shavuos, you want to bring them a present. This is a present of eternity. Next week, a 2-for-1, buy a Bamidbar and get a Dvarim free. It is a sale you do not want to miss. I'd cut for today.